Hassler here. I'm going to work through the 1.1 Explore. This is the activity that we worked on in groups in class. And so if you're absent or you wanted to see the activity done again, this is a great video for you to watch. So I'm going to read what's in the box. It says, Callie's Catering Company prepares for an event by setting up tables and chairs. Each table is set with 8 chairs. Callie always brings 3 extra tablecloths than what she needs for the tables. So Callie needs to make a spreadsheet so that her crew will know what to bring to each event, help her fill out the missing information. And so I'm just going to think about what information was given to start. So it says that each table is set with 8 chairs. So if I have a table, then there's going to be 8 chairs around it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so if I have one table, then there are 8 chairs. So if I have 2 of these tables, so I have to think about 2 tables, 8 per table, that would be 16 chairs, right? So if I have 3 of these tables, I'm going to add 8 more chairs, so that'd be 24, and so on. I'm going to keep adding 8, and so I've got 32, 40, 48. For every additional table, I have 8 more chairs. Okay, let's think about tablecloths. So a tablecloth is a covering that goes over the entire table. So I need 1 tablecloth per table. But it says Callie always brings 3 extra tablecloths than what she needs for the tables. So if I have 1 table, I need a tablecloth for that, plus 3 extra. And so I have 1 plus the 3 extra gives me 4 tablecloths. So if I have 2 tables, then I have 2 of these coverings and the 3 extra. So it's not 3 extra per table, it's just 3 extra in general. So now I have 2 tables plus 3 extra is 5 tablecloths. 3 tables plus 3 extra is 6 tablecloths. And so for every additional table, I need to bring in 1 more tablecloth for that table. Okay. This is what patterns do you notice in the table? So some things that I'm noticing is that my number of chairs is increasing by 8 each time. So number of chairs increases by 8. I also notice moving this direction that however many tables there are, if I multiply the tables by 8, right, 8 chairs per table, I'm going to get the total number of chairs. So tables times 8 gives me chairs. Tables times 8 gives me chairs. Tables times 8 gives me chairs. So I could say number of tables multiplied by 8 equals my chairs. What else do I notice? Well, I notice that my tablecloths are always going up by 1. So number of tablecloths increases. I'm going to say INC for increases by 1 each time. And let's see, anything else? Oh, the number of tablecloths is always 3 more than the number of tables. So 3 tables plus 3 is 6. So I'm going to say number of tablecloths is 3 more than tables. Okay, so these are some things that I'm noticing. So let's see what questions I have happening down here. It says, if Callie brings 8 tables, how many chairs will she bring? How many tablecloths will she bring? So what a lot of friends tend to do is extend this table, right? So I could extend this table 7 tables, 8 tables. So we said that moving this way, I keep adding 8. So 48 plus 8 is what? 56. And 56 plus 8 is going to be 64. But I have to keep going, right? I've got 9, 10, 11. And so extending the table could work, but that's a lot of work. I kind of want to use this purple information here. It says the number of tables multiplied by 8 is the chairs. So let's think about this. If I have if I have 11 tables, but there are 8 chairs at each table, so 8 chairs for each table, then I would have a total of 88 chairs. And in fact, if I keep extending my table, my spreadsheet, I should say, if I keep extending my spreadsheet, I would end up at that 88. But it also says how many tablecloths would she bring? So again, if I were to extend my table, I would keep adding 1 to the tablecloth column. Or I could look at what we wrote in orange, that the number of tablecloths is always 3 more than tables. So if I have 11 tables and I'm always bring 3 extra, that's going to give me 14 tablecloths. All right, so I kind of want to use what's in my purple and my orange to help me because extending that table is a great option and takes a lot of work. So 4 says, if Callie brings 120 chairs, how many tables will she bring? Well, we said that I'm going to take the number of tables and multiply by 8 to get chairs. So going this direction, I'm multiplying by 8. But this time I'm told the number of chairs. So I actually want to go the opposite direction. And if I'm going to multiply by 8 moving from tables to chairs, I got to divide by 8 moving from chairs to tables. So I'm going to take this 120. I'm going to divide it by 8. When I do that, I get 15 tables. And says, how many tablecloths? Well, in orange, we said the number of tablecloths is always 3 more than tables. So now I know the number of tables. So 15 plus 3 gives me 18. I'm going to say TC for tablecloths. All right, 15 says, if Callie brings 16 tablecloths, how many tables will she bring? Okay, so this time I know the number of tablecloths. It's always 3 more than my tables. So again, I have to go backwards, right? Moving from tables to tablecloths, we added 3. I had 3 more. So going backwards, I have to take the 3 away. So if I know that I have 16 tablecloths, I have to take 3 away to know how many tables there are. There are 13 tables. And if I know how many tables there are, I can take the number of tables. There are 8 chairs per table, and 13 times 8 gives me 104 chairs. So I'm using this relationship between the tables, chairs, and tablecloths to help me find some answers. So below, it says, write an equation that shows the relationship between the number of tables, T, and the number of chairs, C. Okay, relationship between T and C. So let's back up here. So I'm looking between tables and chairs. So we said that if I start with tables, I can multiply tables by 8 to get chairs. So if I start with tables, T, and multiply by 8, I get chairs, C. So that's one relationship. Or down here, we said moving backwards, if I start with chairs, I could divide by 8, and that's going to get me the tables. And so I have 2 different ways of representing this. I could say, hey, if I start with tables, and there's 8 chairs per table, I can multiply by 8. So I'm going to say 8T. That gives me the number of chairs. Or if I know how many chairs there are, and I divide by 8, so divide by 8 could also look like this / divide by 8, I can get the number of tables. All right, 7 says, write an equation that shows the relationship between the number of tables and the number of tablecloths. Okay, so the number of tables and the number of tablecloths. Okay, a lot going on here. So I want tables and tablecloths. And that's my orange relationship here. We said that if I know the number of tables, I can add 3 to get tablecloths. So if I know the number of tables, I can add 3 to get, they're using B for tablecloths. Or down here, we went in reverse. If I knew tablecloths, I could subtract 3 to get my number of tables. Okay, so I'm going to go through that again down here. We said if I know the number of tables, I could add 3, and that gets me the number of tablecloths. Or if I know the number of tablecloths, I could subtract 3, and that gets me the number of tables. All right, the last one says, write an equation that shows the relationship between the number of tablecloths, B, and the number of chairs, C. All right, so we have a lot happening up here. I'm going to erase a little bit here, okay, and see if we can make sense of this. Okay, so just going to toss these numbers back in here. We had 8 and 16 and 24, and we had 4, 5, 6. Okay, I want the relationship between chairs and tablecloths. Okay. Well, let's go back down to problem 5 and see if 5 can help us. We started with tablecloths. We subtracted 3. That gave us the tables. And we took that answer and we multiplied it by 8 to get us the chairs. So I'm going to connect chairs and tablecloths. So if I start with the tablecloths, B, and subtract 3, that gets me the tables. And then I could take the number of tables and multiply it by 8 to get the chairs. And so I want to put this all together. I want to say, okay, so I think that I have to do 8 times B minus 3, and that's going to equal C. Right, so I do B minus 3 first. That gets me tables. Take that answer, multiply it by 8. I'm going to get my chairs. So a little bit of extension in our thinking. And so we worked through that together in groups and had a discussion about 6, 7, and 8 as a class. And after that, then we did take some notes. And so I'm going to have you flip to your notes page. And I have a second video for you that talks through the notes that we took for 1.1. If you have any questions, let me know.